Hello everybody. I'm happy to welcome you all to this video lecture on evaluation of mathematical learning outcomes. So far we have seen about the learning outcomes in brief with reference to the special context of the mathematics, so how to write a learning outcomes. And we have seen about the preparation of syllabus with OBE elements. And we were discussing about the program educational objectives, the program outcomes, program specific outcomes, and course outcomes. And we were also throwing some light on the lesson outcomes. And now, why are we focusing much on these outcomes, program educational objectives, and so on? So, as discussed earlier, it is nothing but we are giving a special focus to the graduate attributes. So I have just listed out the graduate attributes in the previous video lectures, but now we have just given an explanation for each of the graduate attributes. So here it is not given by somebody else, but it is the UGC itself has given about the LOCF graduate attributes. In brief, it has been given about what they are actually meaning when they say that disciplinary knowledge. So what do they mean about the communication skills, the critical thinking, what about the problem solving, and we'll go with analytical reasoning, the research related skills, teamwork, the scientific reasoning, reflective thinking, information or digital literacy. Going with the self-directed, we do have the multicultural competence, the moral and ethical awareness reasoning, and what about the leadership qualities and the lifelong learning. So not only the term, but what do they expect under each heads also had been explained by the UGC. And now I like to just give you a model of our college, what we have been practicing since 2019-2020, that is academic year. So we have just introduced this outcome-based education, that is the learning outcome-based curriculum framework, what UGC is just telling us. And now after incorporating this, we have to make a lot of changes in the existing syllabi. And now, what is program educational objectives? So this program educational objectives is a very broad and comprehensive term as discussed earlier. And here it is going to give you an overall coverage of all the skills and the ultimate two important terms, that is the entrepreneurship and employability. As you all know that the education and employment are at two extremes, there are two poles. And now it is very difficult to get it merged and get it bridged also, I can say. And now here every education institution is striving hard in order to build the entrepreneurship and employability attributes in the graduates, in the student community. And here, all our institutions will be having a vision and mission. So no doubt in that. But here in additional to that, we are going to formulate the program educational objectives. And this program education objectives is quite common for the entire undergraduate program. And now here comes the program outcomes. And here these program outcomes are also quite common to the entire undergraduate program, irrespective of the arts and science stream. But in some of the institutions, we do have a practice of having the program outcomes specifically for each and every department. So that is also a way of doing it. But I can say that engineering colleges are our forefathers. So they have the program outcomes and they do have the program specific outcomes. The program specific outcomes is actually subjected to each department. For example, it may be a department of ECE or Triple E, or it can be of computer science or IT or biomedical, so whatsoever. It can be a civil, it can be a mechanical also. So at that time, they are going to differentiate this engineering disciplines with respect to 2 or 3 specific outcomes, and they do have a very common program outcomes formulated earlier by AICTE. And now here, still UGC has not given us exactly about an overall list of points of program outcomes, but they are very much focusing on the graduate attributes. So here this is about the program outcomes, and we have formulated nearly 8 program outcomes. So if you are just going to give a glance with all the 8 program outcomes, definitely it is going to get correlated with the graduate attributes, because only those points are being listed by the LOCF and that was a prime focus on that. But not it has mentioned about the program outcomes or program specific outcomes as such. So here we are going to disseminate and demonstrate. So the comprehension, the spirit of cooperation, you're going to apply the obtained knowledge, and you're going to go with the legal and ethical issues. You go with a higher degree in their respect discipline. So these things are related to the research related skills. So analytical reasoning, problem solving, of course, this are very directly is going to come as one of the graduate attributes. So communicate the higher education experience. It's of course you are just going to have your own lifelong learning over there. So multidisciplinary competence is also one of the graduate attributes. You go with the conceptualizations, you're going to focus on the digital literacy, you're going to enhance the creativity of the student community. So all these 8 program outcomes are highly correlated with the graduate attributes. And here comes the program specific outcomes. So this is exclusively meant for the Department of Mathematics. So all these program specific outcomes, which are 5 in number, it corresponds to the students of mathematics. So what do they get specially? So what are the outcomes the students are going to get after completing the BSc Mathematics program? So now why are we much focusing on the specific outcomes or the program outcomes? So it has to have some correlation with the graduate attributes. So what is the ultimate aim of the UGC LOCF? What have been formulated in the name of the graduate attributes? So after completing your graduation, that is your 3 years of your program, what all the things a particular student must possess, because an institution is not producing graduates alone, they are actually producing the employees, the future employees of the industries. So they want to make them employable, they want to make them to acquire a suitable place in the job market. It is very essential. So now the job market is flooded with lots and lots of opportunities, but aren't we are making our student community suitable for it? Are we making them to be competent? So that is a $1,000,000 question. So how you are going to make your student community to possess all these graduate attributes? How can we do it? So it all depends on the courses what you are having at the each semester. So that is very important. Suppose if you want to make the student to explicate the concept of pure and applied mathematics, so you want to have the course papers which are dealing with the pure and applied mathematics. If you want to make your student community to go with the construct and create a well-structured mathematical arguments, if you want to make them to do so, then you want to have the courses in such a way that it is providing the opportunity for the student community to construct and create and to do whatsoever you are want them to do it. And how you want to integrate mathematics with the other domains. So you want to go with some other courses which is dealing with the applications of mathematics in various fields of social science and technology. So are you going to have any biostat to show that how statistics is highly employed and how statistics is predominantly being used by the people of various sectors, various fields. So it is what you are going to decide, what type of courses you are going to keep under each semester. So how systematically you are going to plan. So all these things matters a lot. And now as we were discussing about the objectives and outcomes for the course, algebra and trigonometry, we were just focusing on that. So now I've taken the same thing. So we have just telling about the outcomes. The outcomes are nothing but what a student is expected to do after the completion of each and every unit of a particular course. Okay, now these are the expected outcomes. It's not sure that whether all the students it is able to do so or not, but this is what we are expecting. Now you are going to measure these learning outcomes. You are going to evaluate the learning outcomes. So what you are going to evaluate? So this is my expected, whether it has met the reality or not. So how to do it? Now this is what each and every course outcome knowledge level. So 2 are to K3 and one more K4 and again 2 K3 levels are there. So I can say that each unit corresponds to the maximum level of the knowledge. So it goes till the application and the third unit is for the analyze part. Okay. So now this is what the very, very important construction everyone must be aware of it. That is the initial rubrics. So whenever I say rubrics, it is a mapping between your course outcomes and program outcomes and program specific outcomes. So what we are having it, we have the conceptualization of program outcomes and program specific outcomes. So, a student of mathematics must possess all the skills of analytic reasoning, problem solving, reflective thinking, and all those things. But in additional to that, definitely he or she will be in need of the team spirit. We have to go for the moral ethical awareness. We go with the digital literacy, and we go with the cooperation, as I was mentioning about the teamwork, the communication skills. So all these things are very much essential. A student does not have only the disciplinary knowledge, not only the critical thinking, or not only the communication skills. So comprehensive, it may a holistic approach must be there. So when you go and develop a holistic personality like this, then automatically each and every part must be focusing. Now I have to build the team spirit. I have to go with the cooperation. So I want to make them to work on a very effective manner. So how to do that? So it is one of the soft skills. And I have to go with the research related skills. Okay, I can go with my own disciplinary. I want to make them to go for a multicultural competency. So multiple cultures, a global perspective, they effectively engage in a multicultural society. Of course, suppose if you want to work in an environment where you have a multicultural environment over there, a societal structure is there, then the particular student must be able to adapt to such a situation. Then I have to go and teach him about the moral and ethical awareness. Fine, but do any of the mathematical papers will be discussing about the moral and ethical awareness or the reasoning? Something about the data or something like ethical and all these aspects are there. So for conducting one's life, we need to embrace the moral ethical values I mentioned here. So here I cannot be incorporating all the courses with respect to the mathematics. So I have to be offering the other courses are there because the student of mathematics is not studying only the courses related to mathematics. He go with the course of physics. He go with the course in like an NME. He go with the part 5. He again is going with the language, Tamil and English. So what the courses are also going to offer him, so it will be a holistic one. So whatever courses he is going to get from the mathematics domain, it will be pertaining to the program specific outcomes. So what all the things additionally a college is being offering, because the college offers a number of courses in addition to all those things. A number of certification course will be there. And it can also offer some short-term course will be there. And nowadays institutions started to offer some online courses are there. So if the students are going to take up all those things, how the students are going to get enriched themselves? So all those things must be reflected together. And that's why we are going to have a mapping between the program outcomes and the program specific outcomes. And what is that number 3 to all standing for? See, all my aim is that I want to make the graduates to come out with these outcomes. So they must have. So if I say that one of my program outcomes is that students will be able to acquire the analytical reasoning, problem solving skills. So they'll be having a favorable ambience for pursuing higher degree. If I want to install such an ambience into them, so how can I do that? All these things are possible only with the nature of the course, I can say. So these things are highly dependent on the courses what we are having under each semester, and what type of relation or what type of influence or what type of association is existing between each of the course outcomes to that of the program outcomes and program specific outcomes. So here the course outcome, no. So CO1. CO1 is actually what? State and apply the different types of inequalities. It corresponds to the K3 level. This is very important. And of course, what this is trying to say. So it is going to hit the level of knowledge. That is the third level of knowledge is going to have the prime focus here. So now I want to just map onto it. So which are the program outcomes are focusing on the application part? Which of the program specific outcomes are focusing on the application? That is the K3 level. I want to find that. So now I'll go with the PO1. So what do my PO1 stands for? It is simply a disseminating and demonstrating the knowledge. So as I said, when you go for the K3 level, you can go for the K1 and K2. That is very important, because without which we cannot go for the application level. So I'm saying that my CO1 is highly correlated with the program outcome 1, and it is moderately correlated with the PO5. So what do my PO5 stands for? Of course, the higher degree ambience is there because this is a paper where you'll be having an extension as you go ahead with that. So I'm going to give here as 2. And PO 6. PO 6 is actually standing for analytical reasoning and problem solving skills. Suppose it is going to go with an application. So you'll be having the skill of solving the problem by applying the methods. So I'll go like with 3. And this is the way I give it for PSO 1. That is the program specific outcome 1. So of course, this is the 1 here. Then I go for the solving. So 3. Again, I go for the other one is PSO 5. So I say that in problem solving, computational skills, and it is focusing on that. So he will be having the attainment of proficiency. So he'll become efficient in solving the problems. So when I'm going to give like this, so now a thought will be stuck in your mind. How can you say so fixedly that it is going to be 3, it is going to be 2? How would you say that? And why not 1? See, this is not the result of an individual's perception. They cannot do it because suppose if I'm asking another person, what do you think that this course outcome will be related to the program outcome and specific outcomes? Do you think that the person will be giving the same value to the same correspondence? Definitely not. But how to get such a comprehensive one? How do you say that this is more valid and seems to be an identical one? So how to do that? So it is not by an individual perception you can bring out this table like this. Though you call this as the initial rubrics, though you call as the expected association, we have to be very cautious in doing this because this is going to play a very important role in the later part of evaluation of the learning outcomes. Suppose if I'm going to have this particular course in a semester 1 and I'm going to handle, so I'll be called as a course teacher. So I am given the responsibility of framing this initial rubrics. Do you think that only I can do it? Certainly not. So it is actually formed as a result of a teamwork. So I always used to insist on this one. So we have given a lot of lectures on this outcome-based education with respect to the mathematical context. So whenever we'll be addressing the participants, we used to say that you kindly cooperate with the head of the department and the faculties who have handled this particular course already. And you can all sit together and how you can make your program outcomes and program specific outcomes to get correlate with your course outcome. So out of their own discussion, then you can come to a particular conclusion. Okay, fine with this. Because this also depends mainly on your students. So what type of student community you have? So how do you think that definitely you will be able to reach this level? Can you make this course outcome to reach this program outcome at this level? So what is meaning indirectly is the program outcome 1 is acquired. So the student will be acquiring this particular program outcome will be there through this course outcome 1. This is what it is telling. So at the end of the unit 1, definitely the student will be able to state and apply some concepts of mathematics. If that is the case, then definitely the student will be able to go ahead with the disciplinary knowledge. It will be getting enhanced. So this is what indirectly we are trying to tell it through this matrix or through this rubrics. So now this is a very important one, and this is the way you are going to construct it. And now this is, and again, a further explanation I've just given. So when I say CO1, to which all it is can map. But here I am telling CO1 to PO4, and look, the word apply is there. Just it is having the word apply, I cannot give a number 3, 2 or 1. But to what it is being applied, assessing the social, economic or legal or cultural issues, to that aspects I am not going to apply this one because I am going to deal with the inequalities. So something it is going to have an application, but not in this way. So you must be very cautious. Just not by you having that word, you are not going to give a mark or give a score for this one. So this is very important. And one more thing here, you don't worry that these spaces are empty because this is only one course we are focusing. In one semester, we are going to offer them many courses. And throughout the 6 semesters, we are going to offer several courses for them. So we need not worry. For example, look at this course outcome is not fulfilling this one. No problem, this one is fulfilling it. So even this is not fulfilled by CO4, but CO5 is fulfilling it. So we need not at all worry about these things. So if one thing is not being fulfilled by this one course outcome, the unfilled will be fulfilled by the forthcoming course outcomes of various courses. So don't worry and don't be very cautious, and don't be so much of enthused in filling all these cells with some numbers. So if you are going to give one to many of the cells, it means that you are degrading your course. Then it's not possible to give 3 to everywhere. See to that it is not too clumsy, and also it is not much sparsely distributed. That is very important. So whichever you tell very confirm and very firm that it is going to have a correlation, you give a score. Otherwise, you can leave it. There is no problem at all. So this is for the program outcomes. And this is again one individually I told for the program specific outcomes. Okay, now I have completed the initial rubrics. Now I have come for the conduct of an examination. I have come for the evaluation of the students. So you have designed the particular courses, and then you have designed the teaching methodology, how you are going to teach a particular unit, and what all the modes of teaching you are going to go with an online platform or when you have a direct platform. So everything you have properly planned and executed. And now it is a time for you to go for the evaluation. And now you start evaluating, you're going to assess the students and all those things you're going to do. So we conduct examinations in general. Though you go with a unit assessment, still we always go for this comprehensive way of assessing with the internal and external. No? And with the formative and summative assessments, as usual, we are just going ahead. And now how you are going to set the question paper. So now this is not simply a question paper, but this is a question paper based on the LOCF. Because you are going to give a special focus to the levels of knowledge what you are going to test under each section. So I'm just going to have with K1 and K2 level for section A. And for section B, I'm going to take the level to K4. But I can ask questions to K1, K2 level also. So when I say K4, it means that I can take the question to K1, K2, K3 levels. All those levels I can come along with that. So this is the way I have a framework for setting a question paper for an internal examination. And this is a model question paper which always being displayed like this. So now I have focused on 2 units for the internal. So 2 full units I'm going to focus here. So let me tell what system of practice is being followed in our college. So we altogether have 5 units. So we have 2 internals and 1 external. So we allow 2 units completely for each and every internal. So 4 units are getting over. So 1 unit is left. So how to go with that? So we take classes for the unit 1, but we are not going to assess it through the internal examinations. So we are going to assess it by some other modes, because examinations or conduct of internals are not the only way. So there are so many ways are there to assess the students' performance in that particular unit. So now I have taken 2 units. So 2 units I have given equal weightage. It means that I take 2 questions from 1 unit for objectives and another 2 questions from the another unit. So here 2 questions from K1 level and 2 questions from K2 level. So 4 questions, 2 from each unit. And again, I am going to take the 5th question and 6th question. 5th question, I am going to take it from 1 unit. So another 6th question is there. So another one I'm going to focus. I'm going to take it 2 questions and I'm giving them an internal choice. So I'm going to take 2 questions, but the 2 questions must be corresponding to same level. So here 5A and 5B, both things are corresponding to K3. 6A and 6B, both the questions are corresponding to K2. Similarly, I go for the part C and I just start evaluating like this. So I have formulated a question paper like this, having the components of all the levels till K3 I'm going to have. And I'm going to give equal weightage to both the units. So 7 and 8 corresponds to unit 1 and 9 and 10 corresponds to unit 2. And now you have conducted the examinations, and now it's a time for you to evaluate. So this is an individual internal scoring sheet you can have to prepare. So what is this is all about? So which unit you are going to take and how many marks, because totally the internal is allotted for 40 marks. So 20 marks they allocate for one unit and 20 marks they allocate for the another unit, because they are giving equal weightage. No. So how many sections do you have? Because in mathematics we have 3 sections, and suppose if you want to have another section is there, even you can go any number of sections, but see to that you have the equal weightage. But as of now we don't have the section D, but this is a quite general what we practice for our college. So here we are not having 4 sections, but we are having only 3 sections. So we can confine the marks within these 3 things and we can ignore it. If at all you are going to include the section D with some changes in the allocation, then you can go for it. And now this is going to be the final internal scoring sheet. I have taken a sample of 10 students. So each unit corresponds to each course outcome. So now I'm going for a unit-wise evaluation at the internal level. Now this is going to be the external individual scoring sheet. And here out of 100 marks, again 20 marks we are going to allocate for each and every unit. So again, external, this is going to be the external evaluation for each course outcome. Now how I'm going to assess it? So unit 1, this is you're going to decide. I'm going to assess the unit 1 by using internal test and external examination. CO2 again internal external, and CO3 with the assignment. So assignment is a generic term. It is not simply giving you an assignment and asking them to write something and do it. So there are so many methods you can assess the students' performance in a particular unit. So you see whether you can able to give them many project work on that, because once you are going to go with LOCF, you have to go many ways of evaluating. You are not going to go with just a one step evaluation at all. So you can give a project work or make them a presentation or ask them to present a problem to solve the problem. So assign an individual task or assign a group task. So how they are performing there. So there are so many ways are there. So you can conduct a mini quiz with that. So using so many online tools. So you can make them and you can assess. So you are creating another a new kind of environment for them. So not only examination is being used as a mode, but rather you can create a constructive environment and you can go for an assessment. So CO4 and CO5 corresponds to unit 4 and unit 5, and you handle them with internal test 2 and external. And now this is a very important part. You are going to set a benchmarks for it. So you are going to measure the course outcomes attained through the external, internal and assignment, and you have just to have some threshold values like this. So what is that is, if your students are going to score 50%, and if 50% of students are scoring 50% and more marks, you are going to tell that your attainment level is 1. And one more thing I like to mention here, there is no relation with your pass percentage here. So what is the minimum mark a student has to score? A 40 marks or a 35 marks, however you have for your own institution. Or for PG you have 50 marks, or for UG you have 40 marks are there, or some relaxations, whatever it might be. But then here there is nothing to do with the pass percentage, but we are going to see some higher levels of attainment. Say 50% of students scoring 50% and more marks, attainment level 1. If 60% attainment level is 2, 70% attainment level is 3. The same thing goes for all the 3 aspects, either external or internal or assignment. So what is it actually? Now let me just forget for time being about remaining the 4 units. Let me focus on the first unit. So now I have 10 students. I've taken a sample. I have conducted an internal examination. So this will be for 20 marks and unit 2 will be 20 marks. And now out of 20 marks, so you will be having some 10 things are there, no? So what is the important thing is, out of 20, they have scored 10, 15, 14, 18, 12, 6, 10, 8, 9 and 17 respective to each student. So total number of students is 10. Total number of marks for unit 1 is 20. How many students are scoring 10 marks and above? So this 10 referring to 10 marks. 10 marks and above is 7. So percentage of students scoring 50% and more marks will be 70%. And now the attainment level is going to be 3. So now, suppose if this number is going to be 6, attainment level is 2. If this number is going to be 5, attainment level is going to be 1. If this number is going to be 4, attainment level is 0. The attainment is going to be 9. That time also it is going to be 3. Because 70 and above. So you go with a 3. So this is the way you are going to calculate the attainment level. And now this is a very important part. See, in general, what practice we have is we go with the 50% of internal assessment and 50% of external assessment. But in some institutions, they have 40-60 or 20-80. It depends. So you can go with the 50%. So I can say that the 0.5. And this is what the percentage, what we have seen earlier, like 70. So it is going to be 70, 65 out of evaluation you take. So 70 is 3, 65 is 2. So accordingly, I'm going to give the attainment level. And this is a very simple calculation. So your 50 is actually 0.5 into 3 plus 0.5 into 2. So what is the sum value of this one? It is 2.5. So similarly, you are going to calculate the same thing for the remaining course outcomes. And this is what finally we have it here. And now, here comes the very last part of it. So you are going to calculate something. But do you remember this initial rubrics, what we framed initially? That has been placed again. And let me tell you how to measure the course outcome and its relation with your program outcome. So how it has made you to reach it. So this is what your course outcome. So it is 2.5. So your course outcome to how far you have achieved it. So 2. You can have only the maximum level 3. If you are going to have the extreme level is going to be 3, you can never take a value beyond 3. So as you say, it is 1, it is light, and 2, it is moderate, and 3, it is high. So 2.5 is, look at the outcomes measured, how far you have achieved this your CO1. So 2.5. If you're going to have a round off, you can say 3. So 2.5 above itself, it is going to be 3. And you can say that to a really high extent, you have obtained this CO1. So CO4 is only to a moderate level, we have been able to achieve it. And now look at this one. So this is what I'm just going to calculate, how this course outcomes has met with your program outcomes. So this is your measure of your course outcomes. And now this is the measure of your course outcomes and your program outcomes and specific outcomes. So to what extent this course outcome has contributed to the program outcomes and program specific outcomes. So look at this one, I have the column A here. This column A is nothing but these values. And column B is nothing but these values for each corresponding what we got for the initial rubrics. I will just tell you how do I get the 2.5 for PO6 alone. I take this as column A, this is column B. So column A into column B, you are going to divide by the sum of column B. So each value you are going to multiply. For 2, I'm not going to have anything, so 0. So whichever values I'm having, I'm just multiplying it and dividing by the sum of it and getting the value as 2.5. And now this is going to make you to reach the program outcomes. So this is how you are going to measure your learning outcomes. So we have measured the learning outcomes and you have measured the correspondence of your course outcomes with that of your program outcomes and program specific outcomes. Okay, now we'll go with assisted, but what can you do it? See, you'll be able to determine your performance of the students in each unit. And then after having your analyzing of the performance, you can take some measures. So you can change the methods because after internals, we have again the chance for your internal 2. And again, you can go for your external. And again, you may also conduct an assessment by improvised methods. And you can check on whether there is a improvement or a gradation of changes are there or not. And one more thing also you can do it, whether these courses are highly effective for you to fulfill your program outcomes and specific outcomes, whether you want to make a change in any of the units. So all those things you can have a discussion. And also you will be having a motivation for the students and a proper direction can be given them after your internal assessment. So this is going to be a comparative analysis. So the framework of OBE syllabus and the earlier framework of the syllabus, what we are having it. So this is going to be highly learner centric and this is a teacher centric. So professionalism, attitudes and tasks, it has been given a lot of significance. So you have a more importance to the outcomes here because they're acting as a performance indicators. And lot of high clarity the goals. What do you want to achieve? So how you can go to direct them like that? Because we have educational objectives, we have program outcomes, we have program specific outcomes. So we have only vision and mission over there. But we have so many aspects are there and they are related to also to each other. So it is highly flexible because once your goals are very clear, then you can be more flexible and you can design it accordingly. See, outcomes, no, it is actually setting you like a benchmarks. So you can judge whether your courses are highly effective or not. Not simply with the overall pass percentage of the students, you are going to evaluate the nature of the courses here. So now you are going to give a lot of criteria to evaluate your courses. And outcomes are actually acting as a guide for assessment. And also you can go with the curriculum planning in a very better way. So these are some of the advantages of their OBE syllabus and how we are going to incorporate in the mathematical concept. So in altogether, we have seen about what is the learning outcomes and how to handle the learning outcomes and how to measure it. Then how to go with the teaching and learning methods in an online platform in a cybercoach. So how to empower ourselves and how to go with this one. And you are going to go with the teaching process in such a way that we have to in a situation to update and also to upgrade ourselves. This is very important. Simultaneously, you go with the teaching, learning, and also you're going to go with an assessment. Thank you.
Dear participants of the online faculty development program on appraisal of mathematical learning outcomes in cybercoach environment, organized by the Department of Mathematics, Orlanandar College, Karmathur, Madurai, from 15th July to 17th July 2020. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them, and I will. In this regard, I thank the Almighty for rendering His abundant graces. Then I would like to register my sincere gratitude to our Jesuit management and to our beloved principal, Reverend Father Godwin Rufus S.J., for their unswerving support. I record my earnest gratefulness to the resource person of the online faculty development program, Mr. S. Lenin, Assistant Professor, Department of Education, Manonmaniam Sundanar University, Tirunelveli, and Dr. P. S. Sridevi, Assistant Professor, Department of Education, the Gandhigramam Rural Institute, deemed to be University, Dindigul. I show gratitude to the head of the Department of Mathematics, the convener of this FDP, the coordinators, and all the faculty members of the Department of Mathematics for their support. I express my deep sense of gratitude to all the participants of this FDP, as you are the exclusive reason for the success of this faculty development program. Appreciation is a wonderful thing. It makes what is excellent in others belong to us as well. Thank you all for staying connected with us and making this FDP more meaningful. Thank you one and all. Let us meet the journey of Math Education 2.0.